everybody who took some time out tonight is in for a treat. When we get a chance to see Amol, I was teasing him before we just got on the call about as far as I'm concerned, he's a dental liberty. He's a nationally known personality and authority on all things dental. And I'm hoping this hour is going to be a great hour for all of you. But Amol, I just a couple of comments that I have is I just keep hearing and I just keep seeing that this COVID and the things that have gone on with protests and riots and other things in this economy in 2020, I think to me, when I really step back and take a look at it, and as we're sort of hopefully on the backside of COVID, or at least in the middle or the backside of it, it just seems to me as I'm looking at the dental practices that we have all over the country, and we have about 700 of them right now, what we keep seeing is all COVID really did is just magnify who people were. And what I'm finding is that the practices, some of which I see on this call, just seem to have used this time and this COVID time to get stronger and stronger and stronger. And the folks that were kind of in the middle have kind of stayed in the middle. And the folks that were kind of either over-levered or poorly run are really in trouble. Some of them haven't even opened up again. I'm hearing that 8 or 9% of all the practices in the country have not opened. But even worse, some of those practices that we're used to having the sugar high from easy money from the banks for all those years. The banks have literally clamped down on everybody but the strongest practices. And so what I think is so unique about what's going on here is that I think that the folks that kind of we work with, that you and I work with, and the kind of folks that are on this call will have a once in a lifetime opportunity because of the disruption of COVID, because of the banks shutting down, but because of the strategies that they can employ. And I think they'll have the opportunity to create more wealth in the next 12 to 36 months than they did over the last 10 or 20 or 30 years. Because, as we know, great fortunes are not made during boom times, they're made during times of disruption. And I think that this is one of those opportunities. And so all I want to do is I just want to welcome everybody. I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy Wednesday. And I want to introduce you to my good friend, Amol, and I always pronounce it a different way, but it's Nirgudkar. I probably only butchered that, probably as good as Carmel. But, we've known each other for many, many years. I think he's got well more than 20 years of experience working with dental groups, and he's helped many of our clients. He's also the co-founder, in addition to being a CPA, he's also the co-founder of Patient Prism, which, as some of you know, is an award-winning call tracking and call coaching system designed exclusively to help dental practices and convert more calls. And he's going to share some insights with us tonight about what's happening across the country since COVID. And, first, I'd like to, just welcome you. And, as I said, Amol, after the initial rush to get to see the dentist when things opened up in the various states, it seems like things are either settling down or even slowing down. And that sort of makes every new patient phone call more important than ever. So I just ask you to turn it over to you and tell you, how do you see things? What's happening? What's happening in the world right now? What's happening in dentistry? And how can the folks on this call not only survive but thrive and take their business to the next level?
Mark Murphy, it is an honor and a pleasure to share a screen with you. And to have known you for the last several years. It's been a pleasure. Every interaction of ours has been so educational for me. Read your book that came out last year rather, at the show, and it really is the most practical guide for dentists to really organize their finances and plan for the future with the goal in mind. So it is my honor and pleasure.
Well, I will tell you, Amol, now that you've read my book, I'll tell my mother there's 2 of you that have read it, and she'll be very happy when I speak to her later tonight. So,
no, it's fantastic. I mean, sometimes the common sense, practical wisdom of a financial advisor, you don't find many like Mark out there in the world, and it certainly is my honor to share this screen with you. You started out saying, talking about the pandemic, and it reminds me of an Andy Grove quote. Andy Grove was the founder of Intel, legendary Andy Grove, and he said, Bad companies are destroyed by a crisis. Good companies survive them. Great companies are improved by a crisis. And if you haven't taken opportunity to really, really take this crisis and turn it into building a better business model for you and your industry and your dental practice or practices, then you have wasted an opportunity. And still, the time is still there to build a better business model. So absolutely, I agree with you 100% that we have ourselves have engaged in that same process of building what can we do to deliver better service to our customers, that is more patients to our customers and so forth. So with that in mind, the question you asked me was, what happened? Pandemic, we shut down, in my view, unnecessarily. And I'm opinionated, so I mean, if those are my opinions, I don't think we should have shut down. Dentistry is one of the safest places to be. I've been to a dentist, I've been to a barber with my mask on, and everything's been fine. We shouldn't have been shut down, but we were shut down. And then obviously we opened up. So May, June, and July were kind of really super solid months because of all the pent-up demand that was there, and everybody saw a bunch of patients. The problem was capacity. We've seen a slowdown in August and September. Kids went back to school. Some of them started working from home, and it was very difficult for people to really figure out, okay, can I go to the dentist? But one of the things that we're seeing a lot is there is throughout the history, we've never seen any kind of economic event affect dentistry. That's my dog. Sorry about that. Affect dentistry, and the same thing we saw during the pandemic. Yes, the demand for dentistry is tremendous, and so there is no problem with that. The issue right now that we're seeing is new patients are calling. It's the capacity is the main issue, right? Do we have the capacity to see more patients with less resources? And here's, we are all data-driven company. So here's a pie chart that we pulled up with all our clients. We work with over 900 customers across the country, dental practices. And we see that scheduling is the number one reason right now why patients are not able to book an appointment. Scheduling means a patient cannot get an appointment when they want it or need it. It's something I leverage AI to figure out, okay, here's the problem. So one of the things that we have done with our customers is tell them that, by the way, guys, you need to open up more hours, you need to open up weekends, and we got to figure out a way to see these patients who are calling our offices. Otherwise, they'll call somebody else. So that is a big trend I'm seeing. Price, about 30% of people are concerned about price. Many of them lost their jobs and they're in flux. And one of the ways we look at this stuff in terms of coaching our clients, if 30% of customers of yours are concerned with price, we want to analyze whether we're offering everything under the sun, whether it's financing options, whether it's discount plans, are we doing that stuff? So we look at everything from a patient acquisition perspective, but it's really important for people to realize that the demand for dentistry is absolutely alive and well. It'll be even higher. You've got to arrange your business model, your schedule to accommodate the patients that are calling you, maybe expand some hours, and also if they have concerns about pricing, then we want to make sure that we are offering them the right tools to feel that they can afford it, whether it's financing or it's discount. And that's where we've made the biggest difference, Mark, at Patient Prism is really identifying these barriers that patients are having right now, or offices are having in getting patients in the door. Because once you get them in the door, hopefully you have the magic ready in your office to kind of get them through the process. So that's what we're seeing a lot. Demand's there. There is some slowdown happening with hygiene, but I think we need to still work to fill those schedules up through more communication.
One of the things I think, Amol, people have joined this webinar. I've spoken about your company many times as the leading company in artificial intelligence in dentistry in the world, or certainly in North America. Tell the folks who have not heard about it a little bit about Patient Prism, and for the ones that have, I've seen even that your company is not the same company it was a year ago or 2 years ago. It continues to evolve. Right. And just tell even folks that are somewhat familiar with the company about not only where you are, but where you're going.
So there's three things we're trying to do in dentistry, right? There's three, if there are three KPIs that are related to patient acquisition and patient revenue, is that first, we want more leads coming in. And when those leads call our offices, we want to schedule them. So schedule rate's really important for us to schedule the patient when they call us. Now, the next rate that we are concerned about is the show rate. We want them to show up and show up to our offices, which is also very important. And then the third thing that we look at is case acceptance rate. We want them to accept the treatment that we have presented. What Patient Prism decided to solve was the schedule rate. What we realized over the last 30 years, only 50 to 60% of the new patients who were calling in were actually getting scheduled. And most of the reasons why they were not getting scheduled is because our folks at the front were not really trained to be sales folks, right? At the end of the day, we're always selling something. And even though it's dentistry, it's healthcare, the patient needs it, we've got to think about selling like Daniel Pink thinks, right? We've got to move somebody from a lower position to a higher position. We want to move them from less health to more health. So Patient Prism really started out saying that we want to improve the customer experience on the phone so that they schedule an appointment when they're calling you in response to all the marketing and advertising that you're doing. So really, the best way to do show you this is how Patient Prism works by giving you an example of how it happens and how it happens quickly. Now, AI is a wonderful word right now. Everybody throws it around. But really, what we've done is taken the whole concept of AI and really compressed the time it takes for you to understand what went wrong so you can do something about it. So let's talk about an example. Patient calls at 9 o'clock in the morning, and Patient Prism records that call with your office. About at 9, let's say in a few minutes later, patient hangs up the phone and doesn't schedule an appointment. Okay, by 9:07, our Patient Prism robot, we call him Prism Bot, analyzes the conversation, pinpoints the reason for the call, what happened, and the revenue opportunity that was lost because the patient didn't schedule. Wonderful. And now about 9:15 a.m., the AI sends those notes to a human being sitting in Tampa, and they add customized comments based on what exactly happened in the call, which means, hey, you should have done this, you should have offered financing, whatever that might be. At 9:30 to 9:40, usually, the dental practice receives an alert via email and text and says, oh my God, we lost $5,000 opportunity. You may want to engage with this patient very quickly. Along with that alert, there is a couple of videos recorded by people like Fred Joyle and many of these industry leaders that tell you exactly what to say when you call the patient back. 9:50, a dental team member uses those notes and those videos to call back the patient. Hopefully within that hour, you've converted that $5,000 opportunity from an initial no to an eventual yes. And you're correct, Mark, when you said that, is that we are the only company in North America, or probably the world. We've got 4 utility patents in the space where we're able to do this so quickly. Right? You could have always listened to these phone calls and have people listen to these things, but who's got the time to do that? So we compress all that stuff, give you the training, and at the end of the day, get you to have a second chance to make that first impression and get that patient back.
You've got to think though, it's, there are a couple of other companies out there that do this, but you've got to think that if even they wait and do it at the end of that same day or the next day or 2 days later, the patient's lost. They've already scheduled with some other dentist or they're long gone. They don't even remember that they called you 2 days ago or earlier that morning. And I just think it's brilliant. How about the call coaching part of the program, which I see you continue to develop?
Yeah, and quickly, I want to show you the impact of this, right? Even before that, so this is a real practice that we've looked at. We send them 98 alerts in the month of August. We pulled this data this morning. The 92 patients were followed up, and these were a set of 5 practices actually. There was a small DSO, and 36 patients decided to come back at a 39% conversion rate, which means that we got 36 additional patients across 5 offices without spending an extra dime on marketing. Huge numbers. And when we converted them into value, economic value of those 36 patients that were converted as a direct result of our efforts of the patients being called back. What happened is their schedule rate went from 77% to 85%, and the additional revenue that these 5 practices in 1 month was able to book on the schedule was about $80,000. And this is the power, right? The power is, could we get the people who are already interested in us, did not want to deal with us before, can we get them to spend money with us on the second try? Could we redo this? Could we have a groundhog day concept where we get to redo what didn't happen an hour ago? It's an $80,000 impact without, again, spending a dime extra on that lead. So that's where the thing is. And the coaching, as you asked me, is really important, because what we do is we really analyze how your team members are doing, and what really, who are your superstars there in the Diamond Club, who are your gold stars there in the Gold Club, what are they doing, how effective they are in answering phone calls. And also on top of that, we have a patented system called the Callviz over there that really goes deeper into understanding, what did Christina, what did Beth Smith, what did Jen, what did these people do correct, and what did these people do wrong, so that we want to make sure that positive coaching, things like, make sure you ask the name of a patient, ask about discomfort, let them know your practice's financing options. These are coaching comments which really move that person from just an order taker in your office, which is, hey, thank you for calling the office of John Smith. How may I help you? What do you need? Do you need a crown? Do you need a bridge? No, not really. What we want to tell them is, we want to empathize with our patients, earn their trust, make sure that the patient journey is optimized, and give them positive coaching that they know exactly what to do the next time a patient calls. Like offering financing, or asking the name of a patient, asking them the discomfort. That's what I mean by positive coaching.
One of the things I think that people on this call are very busy running their practices. Some of it seems very obvious. Some of it's more subtle. But I just love to be as clear as possible. How do dentists use that information to affect changes in their practice? How would you, as I said, I think some of it's obvious, but some of it may not be, as obvious.
Here's the thing, right? In my view, most people learn when not a lot of people learn in the classroom setting, sitting for 8 hours, learning about something else, right? When every single time there is an opportunity to learn, somebody tells them, like, we're in the NBA finals right now, Eastern Conference, Western Conference. Every time the coaches take a timeout, the coaches will say, hey, you need to calibrate that a little bit, right? You need to make some changes. You need to do this, you need to do that, you need more rebounds, whatever that might be. It's the same concept, is that every time we've got a coach that's sitting, an AI coach that's sitting behind the scenes, listening to what's happening in the conversations. And every time there is an opportunity where we could improve, so that we can schedule that patient, that alert goes out. Over a period of time, those habits get built, right? You understand that's why you need coaching in every aspect of your life, whether it's the telephones in the front, whether it's financial advice, whether it's CPA. You need a coach in your life that can guide you and tell you when you make mistakes. We just leverage AI to understand these mistakes quicker, so that that coach can come in and actually guide you continuously to make you feel, to improve your performance over a period of time. So really, that is all about that. One of the things dental practices use our data is this, another patented technology we have is this sophisticated keyword analysis. Now, these are spoken keywords, Mark, and hear me out for a second. So what we're able to do with our technology, and there's no technology out there that does that today in the world that I know of, definitely not our competitors, and I mean that respectfully, is that tell you that, oh my goodness, 59% of people, there's 298 patients called you in pain, only 178 of them booked. So our batting average for people in pain was 59.7%. Now, although we booked patients at 88% conversion rate, on implants, we only booked 22 of 34, which is 65%, right? On Spanish speaking people, right? If you're in Texas, California, Florida, any places where there is a whole host of Hispanic population, we're doing a really bad job, 33%, right? Now we either figure out a way to have somebody who speaks Spanish at our office. If not, we may need to have a call center that we can transfer the call to, that can speak to the patient in Spanish. These are the insights that AI allows us to share with our customers. Now I know if I'm only converting 64% of my implant patients, I need to go back and look at my team members and say, man, you guys need to really understand how to talk about dental implants. You can't just tell them it costs $6,000, and then you may need a root canal that costs another $1,200, and then you may need some buildup. And if you need a bone, you need another $500. That's not what you do, right? So we have to really understand and go deeper. That's what AI allows you to do, is go deeper and get deeper insights into what is really happening, what are patients wanting, and are we able to service those specific type cohorts of patients in a proper way. Another way, we've got enterprise, we work with lots of group practices, and to be able to see this data quickly. A lot of times we are at businesses, we are inundated with so much data. What do we do with this? If the data doesn't become actionable, it's not intelligence, it's just hindsight. So what we want to do is, we've got amazing enterprise dashboards that tell you the key performance indicators that you need to be aware of across your locations. Like how many voicemails were not connected, went to voicemails, how many calls went to voicemails during business hours across all your locations, how many calls were connected versus not connected, how many new opportunities did we receive. And when we can see this across the board, across our landscape of practices, we're able to quickly pivot and make decisions about, man, we need to really, really do something about it. Because AI by itself is cool. It sounds amazing. If it cannot change something in your practice to bring you more patients, then we're failing.
You know, as a key business strategist and critical thinker and financial advisor, our only goal is to help our clients make a lot more money. So the value of their practices go up and their income goes up and all of that stuff. And I can tell you that I can't remember a practice that you've worked with that has not helped that client make money right away. And I don't want to say this out loud, but it seems like it's pretty affordable. I mean, more than affordable. It's a very, very inexpensive process for what our clients get.
Yeah, I mean, we work with amazing practices out of Dallas. We literally $30,000 in just from the missed calls. We've got a big endodontist practice. Even endodontists are using our system, even though they don't do any marketing. They get all their referrals. We are saving almost 2 to 3 patients per week in each root canal patients in every office. Literally, no matter who you are, whether you're an amazing independent practice, whether you're a group practice, whether you're a large DSO, it doesn't really matter. What matters is the ROI. Absolutely, the ROI is in 10, 15, 20x most of the time, and it's visible. You don't have to go search for it. You can easily go out there and find out what was the direct outcome, what was the direct production resulting from Patient Prism's stuff. So it's not nebulous. I'm like, okay, where do I have to find that ROI? It's in your face every single day.
You know, one of the most like eye-opening presentations I've ever seen is I'm part of a dental study group. I've been part of a couple of big dental think tanks and study groups, and there was a presentation made one year, a few years ago, with somebody who talked to these very, very successful practices, and a very, very successful practice. And they said, how good are you? How good is your team at scheduling patients and converting phone calls into appointments? And for the next 15 or 20 minutes, he let them all go, and their egos got involved. They were banging their chest like Tarzan, bragging about how great their staffs were. And what they did not know is that he had called every one of their staffs, not trying to trick them, just playing it straight, and played the tapes. And after spending 15 or 20 minutes beating their chests about how great their teams were, people turned white. And I heard a couple of the calls, and you would swear, Amol, that some of the staffs were actually trying to put the business out of business. Right. The way they did it. How if you've not really had this kind of technology before, or not had exposure, how do you assess whether you're a candidate for this? How do you assess how your team's doing? What do you really need to do to get your handle on this so you can make more money?
First you need to really understand is that are you engaged in any kind of marketing to drive new patients in? If you're not, then maybe we're not the right fit, because if you're not needing any new business, most of your clients and our clients are growth-minded dentists. They want to grow their businesses. They're actively engaged in external marketing to drive new patients in the door. So if you're that kind of practice that wants to grow, that's spending money and is looking at their cost of acquisition, what is our cost of acquisition for a customer? And every business owner needs to know that, right? Whatever business you're in, you need to know what your cost of acquisition is. And most dentists are now, in the last 15 years, dentistry moved to a from a B2B model to a B2C model, where now we're direct to consumer model. We're directly advertising to patients. In the old in the 70s and the 80s, dentists didn't advertise much. They were not even allowed to, I think, at some point. But now we're using all sorts of tools to get patients in the door, and we're spending a lot of money. And in some markets like New York and Miami, uh, people are spending $75 to $80 per click for an implant ad. Now you want to make sure that money that you're spending, that's driving that phone call, is actually resulting in a booked appointment. If it's not, then you're wasting that money. It's increasing cost of acquisition. So really, any dental practice who's actively looking to grow wants more visibility into, instead of just saying, let's press the easy button and we need more patients, let's spend more money on marketing. That's not the solution, right? Let's figure out first whether we're doing a good job of people who are calling us. Let's also figure out, are we answering all the phone calls in the first place? And once we have done that, then let's spend more money. And it's very important. I'm not going to tell anybody. We tell clients all the time, like, if you're not really getting a whole lot of phone calls, you need to fix that first. You need to get the leads flowing in. When the leads flowing in, we want to reduce your cost of acquisition, and we want to be able to say, okay, well, instead of $2,000 bringing in 10 new patients a month, we can get you 15 new patients a month for the same amount of money. And that's it. That basically the criteria. As long as you have a decently robust phone system, it's not like a rotary dial, we can work with you.
One of the things I think is, I think it's an easy threshold to get a doctor to say, this is affordable, and this can bring in a lot of revenue that we would have lost coming forward. I think I think you could make that sale very easily.
Right.
But the one question I think people do ask is, they say, how hard is this system to operate? How much staff, does it put any taxing on the staff? What is this going to disrupt anything we're going to do? Is this going to be just another thing we're going to have to deal with, or is it pretty seamless? And I know the answer, but I'd like you to give them the answer right from the horse's mouth.
And I do appreciate dental practices. They are inundated with the amount of things that they have to use on a daily basis. There is the practice management system, then there is the review system, then there is also a reminder system. There's so many systems out there. One of the things we decided to do is not make this system so time consuming. So you only attend to it at the very beginning when you get an alert, like, hey, we lost $5,000. Let's contact them. So, and most practices on an average are not going to get more than, a couple of alerts a day, unless you're really high-end practice where you get a lot of new patient phone calls. So really it pushes, when you get a lead that says, hey, this patient needed implants, they about $10,000, call them back. That's when you access it, call the patient, and you're done. It should not take a lot of time, as long as somebody's allocated in a practice to actually engage with the patient. I understand it gets busy, but you've got to be able to use that. So it's not very intrusive. It's not like it's time consuming. We do everything behind the scenes. It seamlessly integrates with whatever you've got, and you don't have to really spend time thinking about it. It's all cloud-based, nothing to install anywhere, and it works with pretty much all phone systems. And our people at customer success people will help you guide over the first 90 days. They'll actually help you make it successful and tell you that, hey, maybe you need to call these patients back. That's all we expect you to do, is we send you a lead, call the patient back, and give them an opportunity to come back again.
You have a few DSO folks on the phone, which I know are some of your biggest clients, and I know you've got a lot of private practice. The DSOs seem to be swarming to this technology. What's your thought about private practice, and about how companies like Patient Prism can help the one or two or three practice doctor, hunt and keep right up with the big boys and big girls?
Right. I mean, I think it's an equalizer, right? Patient Prism is an ultimate equalizer. DSOs are leveraging, what they're doing is they're leveraging data to make better decisions. And I think, and that's the reason why sometimes they are able to grow faster, besides just the capital. I think one of the things that independent practices who are growing fast and who are wanting to grow fast, it's the same concept, is let's use data, let's measure what we are not measuring currently. And let's measure our conversion rate. Everything we want to measure, every dental practice has analytics platforms that use things to measure stuff. What is our perio percentage? People measure that. What is the percent? What is our hygiene production as a percentage of total production? We measure that. That's important. What is our production per hour for a doctor, per hygienist? We measure those things. It's also important to measure what's your schedule rate, because it has a direct impact on our top line revenue and our bottom line revenue as well. So it's really about measurement. It's really about understanding what's happening, because once you understand, as Peter Drucker said, once you measure, you can manage it.
Amal, tell people if they're interested in sort of kicking the tires a little bit, how does your firm work? How do they get access to more information?
Yeah, well, all you got to do is go to our website, www.patientprism.com, Patient Prism with an S, and check us out. Schedule a call with us. Just schedule a demo. There is an orange button there that you can click on. Schedule a demo. Somebody will get back to you and actually customize this for your solution. We will tell you up front whether this is the right solution for you or not, and how we can actually help you immediately. Most practices we can help. There are some that we cannot, and we will tell you up front. But schedule a conversation with us. Schedule a conversation with one of our sales executives, and they will walk you through a practice that's similar to yours, that has achieved success from a marketing standpoint, operations standpoint. And also check us out on the website, because we've got lots of resources that we've built over the last several years on helping dental practices kind of gain an understanding of all kinds of things.
Mala, I view you as a visionary. Tell me, can you share with the group where you think artificial intelligence is going, and what some things that Patient Prism is working on right now that you hope to add to the capability of your system over the next months and years?
Yeah, a couple of things we're working on right off the bat is compressing the time we get that alert out to the practice. It used to be 3 hours, then it became 1 hour, now it's 30 minutes. At some point, we want to be able to do it 15 minutes, or maybe one day in real time, where we have a real-time coach that's guiding our people on what to say. I do see at some point, Google developed this technology called Duplex, where we may have, in dentistry, it might be tough, but I do see a virtual AI-driven receptionists that are doing some of the basic stuff out there. One of the things we're working on is an outbound process where we could have a robot calling the patients to confirm appointments. We could have a robot calling patients to leave messages for whether it's hygiene, recall, or reactivation of unscheduled treatment. Those are the things that we are working on right now. Not necessarily that the robot is talking to the patient, but robots at least taking the list, calling the patients, and getting them confirmed, or if the patient does pick up the phone, then connecting them to a live human. So we're working on some of these technologies that will allow us to communicate more with our patients. One of the things we talk about a lot, and you talk about a lot, is that you can never over communicate, right? And the way we build relationships with people is by communicating. So we're leveraging technologies like natural language processing, artificial intelligence, machine learning, all these things, to really understand what our customers need, but also communicate with them better, so that we can improve the patient experience, improve the customer journey, and we can get more people in our offices and provide them the dentistry they deserve, so that they can change their own lives and the lives of others. Because as we know, right, dentistry does change people's lives, and it's the most amazing profession out there that has one of the most biggest impact on people's health.
Oh, absolutely. One of the other thing too is even stepping away from Patient Prism for a minute. I think you've sort of been known to be able to predict trends in dentistry in general. Give us your insight about what a couple of things that you think that people should be looking out for over the next couple of years for folks that are in private practice.
Well, I think you're going to find AI diagnosis of dental caries and dental modalities. Companies out there right now where there will be an AI assistant that does the radiologic imaging. AI radiology in dentistry is coming with believe it or not, and it's going to help us actually detect more dental disease and actually help us present that treatment in a way that I think people are going to buy into it more because it's driven by AI. So I think AI in diagnosis of dental disease for sure is coming. It's already out, and lots of larger DSOs are using that as a tool to help the doctors diagnose better. And I think we've seen some studies done where the AI actually diagnoses certain, I mean, people go with clean bill of health, they're doing their prophies every 6 months. All of a sudden, the x-rays are run through an AI machine and they find things that naked eye couldn't find. So that's happening. Robotic surgery, robots placing implants. We've seen that happen in China. It's happening here as well. That will definitely happen. 3D printing. I recently was in a place in Colorado where they were 3D printing teeth. And it was pretty amazing. There were 3D printers. They were printing dentures with teeth, and I saw the teeth being printed inside offices, inside a 3D printer where there was done, and so I do see that happening with those tools. And I think dentistry, and then the last thing, I think not AI driven, but I think, and everybody knows this, the oral systemic connection. I think dental practices will do a lot more integrated work with medical practices to really be the front line in terms of diagnosis of whether it's heart disease or hypertension or oral cancer, whatever that might be. Great times ahead for independent practices as well as DSOs. No matter who you are, dentistry is so essential, and we are just scratching the surface today. Only 40% of people have seen a dentist in America. There's that 60% that needs to come in. And that's where I hope we all go to. We all really come together as an industry. And I hope ADA kind of pivots a little bit in that direction to really promote oral health among people who would rather go to Target than go to a dentist, right? People who go to mall than go to a dentist. But educating and getting these people in the door, getting the people who are not in the mix, getting them to come into the dental office is where I want to spend my time on over the next 10 years, is kind of educating as much as possible through our channels so that more people, we can change more lives.
25 years ago when I started to sit on tech boards, and I was not a tech guy, I was a money guy. So I'd sit on these tech company boards with all these techies, and they would start throwing around all these acronyms and all these terms that all I did was, I was like, I don't know why I'm here. I don't understand what they're talking about. And I'd write down all the letters and the acronyms, and I'd go home and research it. And it probably took me 6 months or a year to figure out exactly what was going on, because they were so, they were in their own little world. And I think if you're not super tech savvy, or particularly if you've been a doctor that's been in a practice for 10 years or 20 years or 30 years, the word artificial intelligence sounds like some new age technology, not something that would come to my little dental practice. Sometimes even in calls like this, people are afraid to ask a question because they don't want to sound silly, almost like I did at my first board meeting on a tech company 25 years ago. What would you say to those folks? And what kind of questions do you think to those people that you might even intimidate them a little bit by just the word artificial intelligence or just new age technology that you have?
People think AI means these robots that are walking around in Star Wars and stuff like that. It's not, right? When you search something on Amazon, and I bet most of you have bought something on Amazon in the last day or so, all right? And every time you search something, Amazon usually recommends something else that you should buy with that, right? The Amazon recommendation engine, driven by AI, drives 40% of Amazon sales, right? So AI, when you call an Uber, they're using AI to send the right drivers to you. So really, if you think about AI, it's really math and it's data science applied. And so what it's doing is computers now are able to process so much data so quickly, and there's abundant data available. We can crunch the numbers quickly to be able to make inferences about what the data is. And really what we're doing here, whether it's Amazon Alexa, whether it's Siri on Apple phones, they're all initial versions of natural language processing machines that basically look at human voice, put that into words, transcribe it, and analyze it against a set of other words to be able to deliver something back to you. So AI really is not, today, we are not at a point where in maybe 25 years from now, we might have singularity, which is AI that is equal to the human brain. Today, we have weak AI. Now, weak AI means that we look at data, we compare it to other data, and we make inferences about this if this data looks similar to other data. So we look at all the number of patients who called, we look at how many patients who booked, and we compare them to all the other patients that booked and what characteristics are similar. Machines allow us to analyze that quickly. A human being would take days and hours to listen to all the phone calls. The machine can do it very, very quickly. And that's what it is really, is really converting what we're saying, what we're searching into text, into data, using that data to compare against text that the machine has been trained on. And so that we can make quick inferences about what that data means. That's all AI is today. One day, it might solve cancer and start driving on its own and that kind of stuff, but that's far away.
Amol, I just wanted to thank you for taking time out of your busy day, and just for always giving back to this industry, and always trying to make sure that to make sure private practice dentists can not only survive but thrive, and give them the opportunity to create the wealth that they deserve. And I just want you to keep going back to the think tank, and keep innovating, and keep adding, and keep speaking, and writing, and doing all the things that we all rely on to make our industry even stronger. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mark. And last comment I have is, I'm a big believer, this is the age of David, not Goliath. Technology is the big equalizer, right? And so independent practices, private practices absolutely have an amazing role in this world, and they can leverage things that are out there. Just because you're bigger doesn't mean you're going to survive and be better. Yes, sometimes it is the age of David. So if you have any questions about anything else, even if we cannot help you with Patient Prism, feel free to reach out to me or anybody on our team, and we'll be more than happy to at least guide you in the right direction so that you can achieve your goals, whatever they might be. And we really do wish you the very best for 2020 and 2021. And stay in touch, everybody. Thank you so much for having me, Mark. It is an honor.
Thank you, my friend. And thank you, everybody. And stay safe. And I'm sure we'll be all in touch soon. Thank you very much.